The studio felt alive that night, buzzing with the kind of energy only a packed audience and a high-profile guest can create. Graham Norton opened the show with his usual charm, leaning back in his chair, cracking jokes that had the room roaring. Then Reba McEntire walked out calm, confident, radiant, giving that classic warm smile the whole country knows. She settled into her seat, ready to talk about her new project. Her voice steady and relaxed. But Graham, always trying to push the envelope, tossed out a playful remark about how folks from the South always take things a little personally. The audience laughed, expecting Reba to laugh too. Instead, her smile faded just enough to change the air. She didn't speak at first, but her eyes sharpened. Graham shifted, noticing the shift but trying to mask it with another joke. Reba finally leaned forward, her hands clasped tightly, the warmth gone from her tone. "Graham," she said slowly, the South isn't just some character you write into a punchline. The laughter died instantly. The silence stretched. Graham blinked, unsure whether to apologize or double down. Reba didn't wait. She leaned in even closer, locking eyes with him as the room held its breath. "Or is that the only way you think people will listen to you?" She asked Tan. The screen cut to black. Reba didn't break eye contact as the cameras came back on. Graham sat a little straighter now, his smile tight, fingers drumming nervously on his cue cards. He tried to recover with a light apology, something vague. "Oh, I was just teasing." But the words came out stiff, almost dismissive. It only made things worse. Reba lifted her chin. "Teasing is one thing. Turning a whole region into a joke is another," the audience murmured, unsure whether to applaud or stay quiet. Graham attempted to brush it off, waving his hand. But then he slipped, he muttered, "You're being sensitive." "Reba, it wasn't that deep." Boo. The room erupted with gasps. Reba's expression changed completely. She sat back, crossed her arms, and the tension inside the studio sharpened like a blade. "See, that right there," she said, voice steady but burning underneath, "is exactly the attitude I'm talking about. You don't get to decide what's deep for me or for anyone who grew up where I did." Graham opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Producers behind the cameras exchanged frantic looks, unsure whether to intervene. Then Reba stood up slowly. Deliberately, mic still on, eyes locked on Graham. The audience went silent, waiting for what she would do next. Reba's stance was unshakable, her voice cutting through the tense silence of the studio. "It's not just about a joke," she said, pacing slightly. "It's about a pattern. A constant belittling of voices, of people, of our culture. And it's exhausting to sit here and watch it happen live on television." Graham's playful demeanor faltered. He opened his mouth, trying to respond. "Reba, But she held up her hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "No, Graham. Humor doesn't exist in a vacuum. When it stereotypes millions, it becomes political. It becomes personal. And tonight, you made it personal." The audience shifted in their seats. Some leaned forward, captivated, while others exchanged nervous glances. Producers whispered urgently behind the cameras, but Graham waved them off, his smile gone, replaced with a frown of genuine irritation. "Look," he said finally. Voice tight, "I didn't mean." Reba stepped closer, her presence commanding, almost cinematic. "Intent doesn't erase impact," she replied, her words sharp as lightning. "You might have meant it as a joke, but what you said echoes in every home where people feel mocked for where they come from. And that's not entertainment. That's dismissal." The room held its breath. Graham opened his mouth again, but Reba leaned even closer, eyes blazing, and delivered a single line that left him completely speechless, the words hanging heavy in the air. Reba didn't step back. The studio's energy had shifted. What had started as a light, playful interview now felt electric, almost dangerous. "You don't get it, Graham," she said, her voice low but sharp, carrying across the room. "I've lived it. I've seen my people laughed at, stereotyped, dismissed. And tonight, I won't let it slide just for a punchline." Graham shifted uncomfortably, trying to regain control. "Reba, come on, it's just what?" She interrupted, her tone rising. "Just a joke? Just entertainment?" Just another moment where the voices that matter are ignored while the microphone stays with someone who thinks a laugh excuses disrespect. The audience reacted immediately, some clapping, some gasping, the tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Producers edged closer, unsure whether to cut to commercial, but Graham refused. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Realizing Reba wasn't backing down, then she leaned forward, pointing at him directly, her eyes unwavering. "I am done being the punchline, Graham, done. And anyone who thinks otherwise can watch this moment and know exactly why it matters." The room fell into stunned silence. Reba reached for her mic pack, canned, then Graham whispered something off camera that made her pause. The studio froze. Every eye was on her as she took a slow, deliberate breath, and the tension became unbearable. Reba's eyes widened at Graham's whispered words, jaw tightening as the weight of them hit the room. Without a word, she turned sharply and began to walk toward the exit. The audience gasped, the sound a mix of shock and awe. Cameras scrambled, producers shouted into headsets, and the studio lights seemed to flicker in the chaos. Graham sat frozen, staring after her, his usual composure shattered. "Reba, wait," he called, but his voice barely carried over the murmurs of the audience. The staff rushed to intervene, but Reba moved with purpose, her heels clicking sharply against the floor as she left the stage. Leaving a stunned silence behind, the screen captured Graham's face in close-up, confused, vulnerable, unsure how to respond. Moments later, Reba's team released a statement confirming her departure and emphasizing her stance on respect and representation. Social media immediately lit up, clips of the tense confrontation going viral within minutes. Back on stage, Graham looked into the camera, swallowing hard, his voice trembling. "Sometimes, words have consequences I didn't expect," he admitted. The studio remained frozen, the audience caught between disbelief and admiration, and just as the screen faded to black, a final caption appeared. "The story doesn't end here. What happens next could change everything," leaving viewers on the edge, desperate to know what comes after the storm. The events you just witnessed weren't just drama. They were a moment that shook the stage, challenged assumptions, and sparked a conversation that the world is watching. Reba McEntire stood up not just for herself, but for millions of voices often dismissed, and Graham Norton was forced to face the weight of words in real time. This is the kind of moment that doesn't just end when the cameras stop rolling, it lingers. It provokes, and it demands discussion. Now, we want to hear your voice. What do you think about this clash? Was Reba justified in taking a stand, or did Graham cross a line unintentionally? How do humor, stereotypes, and media representation intersect in moments like these? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Be honest, be passionate. And let's start a real conversation if this story gripped you. Hit that like button to show your support for content that dives deep, challenges narratives, and brings the truth to light. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an explosive behind-the-scenes moment like this. Trust us, the fallout from tonight's events is just the beginning. And you'll want to be here for every shocking update. Join the conversation. Make your voice heard, and be part of the community that refuses to settle for surface-level stories.